Well, people are shocked that this is the highest figure since records were kept in the 1970s. They're not surprised, unfortunately, because the unemployment figures have been climbing ever since Spain's crisis began at the start of 2008. And today, looking at the detail of the figures, you can really see the human misery that lies behind them. There are particularly households where no member of the family is in work, almost 2 million of them. And the young people, 57% of under 25s are out of work. That shows the scale of this problem. We already know that lots of young people have left Spain to look for work abroad. Those that stay face a very gloomy picture indeed. The government is coming here under increasing pressure to justify some of the reforms it's taken, like the labour reform, like the austerity cuts, because the critics say these figures today show that all of that is simply not working.
Sarah, much has been made there in Spain about the collapse of the property bubble. Is that the real reason for these high numbers, or are there other factors at play?
That's one of the main reasons, because many young people, for instance, left school very young to go into rather lucrative jobs on the construction sites. And when, of course, that bubble burst, they didn't really have the skills to get any other job. But, of course, the austerity cuts has also affected the public sector. So now we're seeing that the cuts and the job cuts are happening right across the board. The trouble is that in Spain, there aren't any other sectors that can really take up the slack that was left behind by the property sector. And the government is having to do all it can really to stimulate entrepreneurship. But it is, of course, an uphill battle.
Sarah, apparently protests against austerity are planned there for today. What more do you know about that?
That's right. A group here will march on the parliament. There's a sense of growing concern by protesters here that neither of the two main political parties are listening to their concerns about austerity cuts. The protesters have said that they will march on the parliament. That's not the first time we've seen the parliament as a target, but we've seen that some of the main protest groups here, like the Indignados, are already saying that they won't march on the parliament. They're quite concerned that some of the protesters are threatening action which they consider to be violent, like, for instance, setting light to cash machines of banks. And the government is looking at whether it will have to actually take measures to outlaw tonight's protest, or to send in rather large numbers of police.